and welcome to the July 2018 episode of the Bizarre Briefing. I don't know.
I like this angle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the briefing. It started off vaudeville, and then it turned into Halloween. And it's
An improvement, honestly.
I'm Bryce Castillo. That's Brant Hughes.
Hi.
And this month we're joined with Jeff Schuessler. Jeff I totally butchered your name.
That's all right. That's right.
Schuessler.
Nobody's been able to say it or spell it or do anything about it for years.
This is the behind the scenes show where we talk about all of the great stuff about YouTubers and being content makers. Shows like The Modern Rogue and Scam School, Night Attack, Twitch streams, a little bit of scamstuff.com store stuff. So I'm trying to hit everything. Thank you guys for joining us once again. Mm-hmm. So the big news, because I guess this hadn't closed by the time we did last month's episode, but now Brian owns a piece of property.
Yeah,
Woo!
7 acres.
7 acres. I think we were talking about it because it was looking like he was in the last stages of closing in the last month's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember we were talking about like calling it a cult. And I think in the past month, the instances of calling it a cult have gone down.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there were multiple very specific moments where we were like, hey, let's not call it a cult.
Yeah, Brian really likes that.
He likes that story of like it being a cult.
And I think he's also like a little bit lured in by the fact that there's like some rich imagery to that.
Sure. Like the idea of like something very grassroots and small, but passionate. And there's a very distinct one-way direction that money flows.
Yeah. I have a lot of like really fundamental problems with calling it a cult and or like not a cult and being like real tongue in cheek with it because cults destroy people and they're real bad, and also it like implies that our viewers don't have agency. And I think like Modern Rogue in particular is like a very like, hey, think outside the box, explore new territories, and be like a self-individualized person.
And when you have the cult stink on that, it's not a good look.
It's very counterproductive and I think not good.
So I think some of that verbiage is fading slowly away.
Yeah.
Man.
I haven't seen it.
So you haven't even been out to it?
No. I imagined
It's just some trees.
Well,
it's not kind of it's kind of not a lot to look at right now.
Well, it's in my mind. It was like the house at the end of Blair Witch, and then I think I saw some shots of them just like hanging out in it. Because I mean, like I'm not a patron, so I don't get any of those exclusive Patreon rewards.
Sure. Okay, so I pulled up an image of the Blair Witch house.
Yeah. I mean, just
it's not
like garbage on the inside, like there's some human feces.
I think that's kind of how Brian is selling it a little bit, because Brian's also calling it like the Fight Club house.
Right.
And it is gross and unfinished inside, right? Like,
they're like
do you have any pictures of it?
So the guys did
a Periscope stream.
Yeah, the guys did a Periscope stream and also a little like Twitch stream on one night.
Oh yeah,
and it's an interesting place. So we got a little bit of footage here.
Can we talk about the vertical?
What's Periscope?
Okay.
Oh no, Periscope will do.
Periscope now does landscape.
Yeah,
but it used to be vertical only.
The fact that he even did it on Periscope is a testament of where Brian thinks mobile live streaming.
I was really more concerned about what like the inside of the house looks like.
Yeah, let me see.
And with this vertical video, I felt like I watched some of it, but then it was like it's really difficult to get any idea of what's going on in there.
So I mean, it's just it's like a little ranch house, right? It's like a 2-bedroom ranch house basically.
Okay.
But instead of like a living room or a dining room, there's just like a very large open air space, a very tall open air room.
Okay.
And there's like a little closet bathroom, and then there is another larger bathroom that is absolutely a wreck. Actually, in the video here, it's like right off to the left on this wall back there. But it's there's a fireplace.
Oh wow.
So Yeah.
It's like I think a lot of what it's being billed as is like run down, but it's not run down. It's just unfinished.
Right. Like this hallway is
Kind of old and unfinished.
This hallway is very unfinished in that some of the insulation is not drywalled in. The roof, the ceiling is clearly not finished, but the bedrooms are finished and fine. I think the wiring, that we might look at the wiring, but I think it's wired for internet in some capacity.
So it's like an old house that they started remodeling and never finished.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
okay.
In fact, that I believe is the story of it.
Okay.
And like this is one of the bedrooms. This is a fine room. It's an empty bedroom.
Okay.
And they have closets and stuff. And then the property is just a lot of green space. There's a little bit. There's like a pond bed that's empty right now. That Brian is excited to get filled or to have a well system where it's filled all the time.
Okay.
He's cutting down a lot of trees.
Personally?
Personally, like as
For fun?
as a means of like venting. He's dealing with some stuff lately. He's kind of got some stressors going on, and he was telling the story yesterday after Cord Killers was done. But he was out there and he was pruning a tree with a sawzall, and I guess the branch fell onto the ground and created this big puff of dust everywhere. And that dust was very likely a fire ant hill. So he got, among other million other things going on yesterday, he was also bitten by like a bunch of fire ants.
That sucks.
It does suck. You know a little something about stepping into fire ants.
Yep.
Gosh. So it's a work in progress, and I don't know. We've talked a lot about what the property will mean for the company.
Yeah, and it'll take some time to get to a place of sustainable operation.
Yeah.
And even more time to be like a polished area that is nice.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the priorities now are in terms of like what stuff gets over there. I think now it's like the store stuff, the warehouse stuff, because I think our lease is up in a month or two, or pretty soon. And so figuring out a way that David and Jacob can get stuff in and out of there and build pallets and have them come pick up the pallets. I think that's probably at the top, followed by
Because the warehouse is where Modern Rogue is shot, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so once that warehouse is gone, or once that lease is up, yeah, we probably won't we won't have any access to it.
Right.
So making it Modern Rogue shoot friendly, having more AC in there, what Brian found out about the septic system yesterday. So he had someone go out there and take a look at the septic system, because he knew that it probably needed to be upgraded or replaced or refreshed. It turns out the inspector went out there and had to start following the plumbing and found out that there wasn't a septic system. It had a hole that just let out a hole, and
What?
Great.
yeah, apparently
Did the previous owners take the septic tank out and then just leave like a pipe?
there probably was not a septic tank at all. Like apparently that was an older technique that people would do, is you could just have it be runoff and it would go back into the earth and the circle of life. So we're gonna get a septic system.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's a shithole somewhere out on that property.
I don't doubt it.
Just follow your nose.
It's oh god.
I mean, they've found some pipes in the ground
That's
just
right.
walking around during stuff, so
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised.
So that's the bathroom situation.
All right.
And then once it's ready for Modern Rogue stuff, getting ready to move all this podcasting stuff, hopefully out of here and over there into something that we can do all the same live streams and stuff out of. And then maybe we do Scam School or some other sorts of stuff out there. I think Brian really wants it to be a place where we work out of daily, or multiple times a week. And by virtue of having everyone or lots of people in the same place, more videos will pop up.
I mean, I personally could probably benefit from the structure of having a workspace.
Yeah.
The 40-minute commute is not exactly optimal for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 30-minute commute. It would also be not great. I think, but it also wouldn't be like, you would probably be fine regardless. And it probably would not be a Monday through Friday sort of thing for anybody. At least to begin with. But I don't really know, because I feel like every time I've asked about it, it's been like, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. But then when we're talking, or when he's telling people and selling people about the land, it's like, oh yeah, we're all going to be in the same place and we're all going to shoot a bunch of stuff together all the time. And I don't know. I don't even know what the time frame on any of that.
I can kind of see a benefit to having multiple people to work on like the same video at the same time. Like if we had some kind of project management thing where if you were in the centralized location with a server, that people could take different parts of a video. So, if you're working on something intense graphics and it's just like, I need somebody to do the drudge work of sound cleanup, that like 1-2 people could work on the same video without that. But yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That it would have to be a very large project to need 2 dedicated people. Like to have a deadline such that you needed 2 people dedicated to working on it at the same time. I don't know what that would look like right now, but I guess that would be a possibility. Dylan asks, is Game School still going to be at bars for this foreseeable future? For the foreseeable future,
Yeah.
We kind of don't. We don't want to get too much into it, but we could do stuff out at the property also.
Yeah, I would postulate that at some point it would probably make more sense to do Scam School not at bars.
Yeah.
Because it's a real logistical hassle.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And but also
that's not the solution to that is not coming in the next 12 months probably.
That's probably one of the last installations to the new property.
Yeah. So that's you and I have been out to it multiple times, Brant. Like, what is your feeling on it? The property or the house or
it's just it's slightly more of a solidified idea than before it was bought, but it's still very much an unshaped block of marble. So there's like a lot of room, and there is the house, which needs a lot of work to be anything really. But also, I think at some point we just have to start. It's tough because I don't necessarily see all the work that's being done to it, because I think Brian is kind of stowing himself away into that a little bit and not communicating all of it necessarily.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't catch every Night Attack, and a lot of times he'll talk about the process on Night Attack, so it's like there's just no communication to me about that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I don't know how that's coming along, but it's the kind of thing where I think at some point we will just need to start using it. And right now it's a kind of like, well, if we prep it, then at some point we'll start using it for something. Whereas I think we just kind of got to get in there. And Modern Rogue seems like an easy one, because it's just like, throw some lights in there and bring the cameras over, and it's just a space.
Yeah. And I think we had talked about there was a person that Brian had contacted about something that we could do as a Modern Rogue episode in that space to make that space better. But part of me wonders like how much we're gonna be prepping and waiting to prep and get like I don't know when we just say, okay, it's fine, we're gonna start doing it here now,
right?
Because part of purchasing the land means that he has to finish renovating the house. The house is mid renovation, and I know he's talking to people about the septic system, and we'll talk a little bit later about, travel stuff also making stuff very difficult. But, at some point we need to get contractors out there to finish the house before we can start building, some huge tower that Brian wants to build, that has to happen. I don't know when that happens or how soon that is. And at some point, I don't know.
Well, you've got a hard stop on the warehouse, right? I figure
it's a little softer, but yeah, I mean,
if nothing else, that will force you to go kind of start stuff over there.
Yeah, but the other thing that I worry on a similar note is that, we have a tendency to find out something needs to be done and then get it done very quickly, and then that's the way it looks for 3 or 4 years until someone says, "Hey, why you haven't done anything with this thing in so long?"
Right.
Yeah, like the Patreons. The Patreons had the same copy that they had for 2 years, and they still have the same videos from when they launched 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Even the Modern Rogue Patreon still has the same video from over a year ago.
The text has been slightly updated, though.
Yes,
I will note, because we have a running tally of some big milestones that we've gotten from the Patreon.
Yeah.
So I just recently we got the headquartered space last week.
Yeah.
So
and so Brian's website, I updated it last week for the first time in 3 years since the last time I updated his website. And this is the sort of thing where I only updated it because he was like, "Hey, I'm going." What was it he was going to? He was going to Las Vegas. Maybe it was because he was filming Penn and Teller Fool Us. No, it would have been way before that. But he was going out for some big shoot. And I was like, "Oh man, I need." Or no, this was right before the TV show was about to start airing. And he was like, "Oh man, I'm going to be on TV. I should have a website and business cards." So made him a website, and the crappy business cards that are still all around here based on how the website looked. And then he didn't change it for 3 years. So now his website actually lists, Modern Rogue on it and links to the Modern Rogue. Mm-hmm. And that's a function of, well, it needed to be done in a night, and then it was fine. And then we forgot about it until some part of it broke, and we had to fix that too. So I worry about that a little bit, but that's a more abstract worry.
Yeah, we as a company tend to have a stumble into progress kind of mentality, which is not always super productive.
Yeah.
Okay.
But who knows? There's also a lot writing on this, so there's a lot writing on it, and certainly enough time that most everything can be done right. Yeah.
And although we do have that Periscope video, which is on the Scam Stuff channel, I would love if we did a proper walkthrough video with good cameras and sort of a little bit more matter of fact, and not here, let's go on a hike.
Yeah, that's kind of what they did with the Twitch one too. Let me see if I can pull that up. Yeah. But it was it was Brian and Jason. Just one day they were like, "Oh man, we should spend a night on the property." I remember seeing this in Slack and thinking, "Oh man, I don't want to do this. I have plans." And then they good on them. They went out and did it in the middle of the night, and so they kind of showed off some more of the property, and then went on a hike in the dark and got lost in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. So I would love to do some kind of
literally Blair Witch style.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, at least he put it on Twitch this time.
Okay. Yeah, and then a lot of big old notifications in there.
I did not realize they made a Streamlabs a mobile streaming app. So I think that's how he did this.
Oh, weird.
Oh, I wonder if that's the ship pipe.
I hope so.
Oh my! Why would they have it pointing up? Why not pointing to the side so the poop could come out of it?
That might have been the Brita filter.
Oh yeah, that's a Brita filter. It's just like really stuck in there.
Yeah.
Somebody just shoved a Brita filter in the ground.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
There's also some trash kind of littered through there, so there's got to be some cleanup stuff. But yeah, I would love to do like a for reals walkthrough kind of tour video, but Brian's been all over the place, so
yeah,
we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, that is possibly something that could happen in the next month or so. We'll talk a little bit more about travel stuff and why that may not be the case, but yeah, that's the property. It's the one thing I really hope we get very soon is an electric gate. I hate that gate. That gate fucking sucks.
Well, I mean, it's broken.
It's broken and it's off the hinges.
Yeah, it's just like old wood planks and stuff.
Yeah. And like the bottom on one of them is unhinged. And so no part of it, even if you get the gates together, like the one of them is like overlapping the other. You can't even get the lock.
Oh, like the bathroom door at a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah. Oh, well, that's pretty on brand. Don't tell Brian that because he's going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
This is just like when you...
Let's go through the bar bathroom door to get to the Fight Club house where there's not a cult, and then
Yeah. Matt asks, is there the reason you can't just leave the gate open? I mean, I guess not, but there's a gate there.
Yeah. And maybe this is a good segue to say, at some point, it will be like public knowledge where it's at.
Yes.
Don't just show up.
Please do not show up.
Nobody just show up. It's not appropriate. Like, don't do that.
I think most everyone has been pretty good about not talking about the address and not trying to like scope it out. We had one person who was like, I know the address. Don't worry. I'm not going to tell anyone. And I had to be like, okay, well, don't even say that you didn't need to tell me at all. Like, this is not a dick swinging competition of if you maybe know the address.
Yeah, I think at some point, once it's like built out nice, we will probably have a system in which you can schedule a time to visit or something like that. So that way everybody can be on the same page and there can be like a formal process to it.
Yeah.
But
right now,
for now,
don't send stuff. Do not come by. Don't show up.
Don't show up.
And we did get new locks on the house, so they cannot steal the leftover Xbox 360 that was left on the property.
Yeah.
They left an Xbox and like a UPS.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Did it
tried
have
to.
their user login on it?
No, they couldn't get it to. They tried to play it on the Twitch stream just to see if it worked or if they could play scary movies on it.
I don't think they had a controller.
They didn't have a controller, and they weren't really sure how. They also left this really big projector in the large room.
Okay.
And they were not sure how it was hooked up or what input or what wire it even went to. So.
Yeah.
I saw that when there for some reason I was there. Oh, I think I was. Oh, what was it? We were there for some reason, and I was putting equipment up or getting equipment, and I just was like looking in the cabinets, and I saw it. And I was like, oh, it's weird. I don't know. A 360. It's not Brian's because he doesn't have one. Mm-hmm. So I guess the guy just left it. You would think that he would take it, and the projector like there's some like not. I guess they're not like very worth the items, right? Like it's an old projector. The 360 is very old. There's an old school overhead projector.
Nice.
Is cool. Yeah, probably not worth anything, but it's neat.
You are not your material possessions, Bryce. See, you just need to leave everything behind in the true Fight Club mannerism. Brian had a talk with him before he left, and he was like, "Okay, now let's watch Fight Club."
Yeah.
I've got some lessons to teach you.
They were actually very stipulated in the contract. Like, okay, I'm going to need that overhead projector. I'm going to need it to not work very well. because I think it doesn't work very well.
You look like Edward Norton right now. I'm gonna need you to leave this behind.
Ben Drake in the chat says Turbo Cult just got a house that came with 3 microwaves and a bunch of baby clothes.
Great.
People just leave shit in their houses when they sell it.
It's not my place, but someday ask Jason Murphy what he found in his house when he bought it.
Oh, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
Someone write that down.
When I lived with roommates, they moved out and left their dirty dishes in the sink.
You fucking asshole.
They're like, it's too much. I'm just not gonna clean them, so I'm just gonna move out.
Keep the deposit and the dishes.
It was.
You should have just thrown him out then.
It was.
You should have just thrown him out.
It was a bad scene
Yeah.
all around.
Anyway, so that's the property. It was not this weekend. It was 2 weekends ago now.
Sorry, I just remembered. They sold my silverware. They sold like all of my eating utensils, but they left their dirty dishes. Like they couldn't just sell their own stuff.
Wait, when you mean sold?
Who bought your silverware?
I assume they sold it. I just know that one day I washed them in the dishwasher and then came back to check on them, and they were all gone. And nobody knew what happened to them.
Oh.
Hey guys,
And it wasn't just the
My
case of someone
forks.
like, oh, I'm moving, I'm going to take my utensils, and
No.
it's not their utensils. Someone like pawned your like stainless steel utensils.
Yeah, and this was around the same time that like a fish mysteriously appeared in our apartment, and I was just like, whose fish is this?
Like a pet fish?
Yeah, like a fish in a fish bowl
Okay.
full with water.
Sure, yeah, that helps.
Yeah. And I was just like, whose fish is this? And they're like, I don't know, but it's mine now. And I was like, okay.
Someone is gaslighting you. That's like a 30-year gaslighting prank.
It was a very surreal time.
Oh my gosh.
all right.
So as you were saying,
That's what I'm saying. So 2 weekends ago now, we all woke up and said we're gonna go to California, and then we went and did that.
yeah, it was very quick.
Yeah, it was very very sort of quick. Like I think we found like Brian had talked about it a little bit the week before, but then it was like on Thursday or Friday where he was like, "Hey, I think we're gonna do this, so everybody should know that." Like it was always a little bit like, would you like, you know, or can you go, whatever, and like you tell me.
Right.
But we found out probably on Friday, or I think we were like hammering stuff out on Friday, and then we flew out on Sunday. So it was we flew out on Sunday and then came back Tuesday morning. We got back Tuesday afternoon, but we left Tuesday morning. So we went out there to shoot an episode of The Modern Rogue. Is this going to be this Friday's episode?
Next Fridays.
Fridays.
Next Thursdays.
Next Thursday. That's right. We've talked about it. I know we can talk about it. The guys went and shot an episode with Sam Loke and Iko Sai, Uwais, excuse me, Uwais, who are Iko is an action film star, as a martial artist, and Sam is a choreographer, fight choreographer, and has done some action directing stuff. And Iko is going to be in a new movie. Both of them are going to be in a new movie, Mile 22. Coming up in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. YouTube really wants me to watch that movie.
Yeah, The Modern Rogue really wants you to watch that movie. We're doing a little bit of sponsored content about that, and I think it ends up being a very good episode. We shot for like 45 minutes or so, and
maybe a little bit less than that, but
yeah. About that, and. It was the guys learning. You know, Sam and Iko did a choreography for us, and then they taught the choreography to the guys beat by beat.
Oh, it's the guy from the Raid.
Yes, he's from the Raid and the Raid 2.
Okay,
Iko is
yeah,
and that was
nice. That
was a trip.
Yeah, we filmed it in the boxing ring or whatever.
Yeah, this Wild Card West boxing.
Yeah, and it was tough to figure out angles because it was any kind of martial arts thing or anything that involves movement is always impossible to shoot because it's just everybody moves everywhere all the time, and angles change constantly.
Yeah, though I will say Sam and Iko were very, like, as far as our martial arts episodes have gone, like, I think they were the most, like, aware of the cameras.
True.
Like we weren't having to tell them, like, hey, you're like, your back is to the camera, you can't really do this. Or I think they really got really well that we were filming it.
Right. Like the presentational aspect of teaching.
Yeah. I mean, it was still pretty difficult because it was like two of them facing directly across from each other. So that's not always an easy angle to film at, but they definitely had good hygiene, at least for it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun thing. We'll see how it turns out. We kind of just ran 4 cameras.
Yeah.
And I know that A7S didn't record the entire thing, but I think it recorded most of it.
Okay.
And then the other wide should be totally fine. And then we kind of were halfway in the ring, kind of just going back and forth.
Yeah, we filmed it out in a boxing ring. It was interesting, and like Sam and Iko, when they did the actual choreography, like they were into it. Like,
oh yeah,
their energy was like on point. Like those guys definitely know what they're doing, and I think that helped them teach Brian and Jason pretty quickly. Like they ended up doing like that must have been 8 or 9 steps. Like it was a pretty long sequence. It was a good sequence, especially if you've never done fight choreography.
Do you get the impression that all the stuff that Jason and Brian have done over the last year with the Modern Rogue have like made them more physically capable?
No.
Okay.
Not specifically. Brian is working out and he's building muscle now.
Yeah.
And Jason, I think Jason's trying to eat healthy.
But I mean, Jason did get fit because of Modern Rogue.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So, like, I think in that sense, they're in a good time of their life, fitness wise.
Yeah, okay. I think they are healthier, but I don't think they're more capable of fine motor skill.
So like all of the like guitar and parkour, or not guitar, but like the parkour and the fighting.
Episode.
Yeah, but none of that has. It was just like and then as soon as it was done, just
because it's always it's always like. It always has to be like, what is the nugget that we can teach someone?
Okay.
And it's not like them going after the fact and like, okay, well, I'm going to go and really like do my reps on swashbuckling or whatever. Like they're trying to learn it well enough for someone who doesn't know anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not doing jujitsu.
It's a lot of like
practice.
If they were learning a bunch of languages, but like just enough to get by and kind of understand some key words,
but they never went to the countries.
Fluent.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was definitely a couple moments in this LA episode where Brian is acting as the attacker and he has this fake knife. And there's like a move where he does like an X or something, and he could not figure out that you have to start with your hand over your left shoulder. He kept going from this side first, and then Sam was so patient. He was like, "No, hold on. You got to do it like this." And he'd go, "Oh, okay," and then do it wrong again. And he eventually got it down. But it's like that kind of thing where I go, "Oh, right, like there's an enthusiasm to it, but maybe not like a real natural prowess."
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there becomes a muscle memory with with any sort of physical activity. And if your muscle memory is, if you're a normie, like you would probably think, oh, okay, well I can just start one way and then go however. But the correct muscle memory or a very specific muscle memory is part of these guys' expertise. And that comes with repetition and training, and that the guys just don't do.
Okay.
There was also a moment when we were filming like the for reals action sequence with Brian and Jason, or them like doing the real deal. And there's a moment like near the end of the sequence where Jason is supposed to like move Brian's wrist with the knife, like move it away from him or something. Or no, use Brian's like wrist against him. And Brian kept doing the thing where he would just do it to himself. Like he would beat
Right.
he wouldn't wait for Jason's hand or try to match Jason's hand. So he would just like move the knife up to himself before Jason, and so it would be like, duh, duh.
Yeah. There's a bit of that. Also, Brian got himself pretty good with that knife.
Yeah,
He's
he
got
had
a big bruise.
Pretty big bruise. He showed it off on the
course he did.
stream yesterday.
Of course he did.
Yeah. I don't think it made the episode, but somewhere in between Cord Killers yesterday, he showed off. It was a pretty good size bruise because I think it's a rubber knife, but you get stabbed with it, and
Yeah.
So that's LA. I think as far as the actual trip itself, it's fun. It's fun. My big stressor was like we went out on Sunday and came back on Tuesday. Well, Monday's the day where we do 12 hours of podcasting, and for weird things, for half of it, Justin and Andrew, the other hosts on the show, just did it themselves. And then for Cord Killers, we like duct taped a solution where we could live stream something from Tom's house, the other host on Cord Killers. But it was a sort of thing where I had stayed up late that night, and we were flying out in the morning, and I was getting the edits together and whatever, and it ended up being like 1 a.m., 12 or 1 a.m. or something, and I had everything done, and I was gonna go log into Patreon to start sending everything out. And that was when Patreon was like, oh, this is a new device. So you're going to need to log in to Brian's email and click this link. And at that time of night with people needing to get their sleep, that was not happening. And so we fly back during the day, and we got home like around 4 o'clock or something.
Yeah, 4 to 5.
And Brian and I also had to go shoot a stand-up and go do Night Attack because it was Tuesday, which starts at 7, or the stream starts at 7? No, it starts at 8. It starts in the evening, whatever. But it was the sort of thing where I got home like 4:30, and I had about an hour, and that hour was me pushing out all those episodes and then moving right into everything else. So it was like kind of nonstop with everything getting caught up in this vacation. Not vacation, but it's a trip. But
Right.
It's hard to not think of it as a vacation, since like part of it I couldn't do anything, and part of it we weren't doing anything, and we got there so early. I mean, we got there Sunday morning, and then we drove down to our Airbnb Sunday, but yeah, I don't know. How did you feel about it? Because I mean, you're not like a going out type of person, I'd probably say.
No, I loathe travel, and I don't like being places usually. But it was all right as far. It's one of those tough things because it's like for us, if it were just the kind of job where it's like you do your 9 to 5 and whatever work you get done, and then it's like, and then you go home. Like, it would be a lot easier to say, okay, well, we're just taking this 3-day chunk out of my schedule, and that's fine.
Right.
But it's like we're like a very deadline focused operation, so it's like, oh, if you take 3 days out of my schedule, I still have to get all that work done by deadline. It's just I have
way less time to work
2 days to work on it instead of 5 days or something. So that was pretty stressful. And then I had a Go game that I had to edit on the road while we were there. And, I like California. I sort of conditionally.
Okay.
It's a bit of a different atmosphere over there, but
Sure.
I like everybody likes the weather there.
Yeah, it was great. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, and then they got mountains over there. That's cool.
Yeah.
Beach.
The beach. We went to the beach for like an hour or so.
You and Brian did.
Brian and I. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the Brian and I.
And I was always a little on edge because of the sound of the power lines.
Yeah,
which is
you
something
could
that
always just hear the surge of power lines overhead.
yeah, which is something that I have like no experience hearing. It's just such a weird thing that I can see where it would just be something that if you live there, it's always there. So it's just like a normalcy, a background
noise.
hum.
Yeah.
But being there and having like normal power lines around here, it's just the kind of thing of like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna die. I forget that there's actually electricity surging through these power lines at all times.
Yeah.
But we met with Rob Krekel, friend of the show.
Oh yeah.
While we
He's
were
a
out there.
audio designer at Naughty Dog.
Yeah,
I
like-
think he's in a more supervisory role now, but
Yeah, like lead audio
man.
person. Yeah.
Well, person. Yeah.
Yeah, at Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
And that was great. I haven't seen Rob in a couple of years, so that was nice.
He's great. He's got 2 kids now.
Yeah.
I knew he had the one, or at least I was pretty sure he had at least one. Anyway, it was good seeing him.
Mm-hmm. And it was the toughest thing for me when it comes to travel is like food. I'm so picky with foods that it's really hard sometimes to find food unless it's here's like a national fast food chain that I have eaten at before, and I know that there's one thing on the menu I can eat. So like I'm good there.
Yeah, we were flying out, and Jason was telling the story about when he and Brian were shooting Hacking the System, and how that there was like some shitty little pizza place, like not like a crappy little hole in the wall that everybody loves, like a bad pizza place, right? Like right next to where they lived, or next to where the shooting space was, and that they ate there most of the time. And when the crew found out, they're like, "You're in California. You don't need to eat fucking Shakey's Pizza. You can eat good stuff." And then half of the meals that I had were fast food in California. We had McDonald's and Taco Bell.
Yeah, when Jason and I went there for E3, the first day afterwards, we were like right around the corner from this great coffee shop. And on the way back, he was like, "Holy shit, is that a Little Caesars? I'm gonna get 2 pepperoni pizzas." I was like, "Dude, we're in California. Give me half of that one."
there's yeah. Anyway, yeah, it was cool, and I had just been in LA a couple months back when we did the Night Attack tour in California, and so it was great. It's kind of a cool vibe out that way. I enjoyed it. Just the stress of shuffling everything around, especially stuff that we normally would never shuffle around, was kind of threw me for a loop. And so I kind of have been trying to like recover from that, I guess. But
a lot of wealth disparity out there.
Yeah. Very expensive real estate next to hobo camps.
Yeah.
It's tough. But that's America in 2018, Brant. This is where we're at.
I guess so.
We need a solution and not just a Band-Aid.
Is this where we pivot and reveal that this is secretly going to be a politics podcast?
Yeah, this is Chapo Trap House 2.
But we've been laying the seeds for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, California's all right.
Yeah. I would hope next time we do a 3-day out-of-state trip that we shoot more than 45 minutes of video.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that, granted, I mean, sponsored content made it worth our while, but it was the sort of thing where it's like, well, I'm glad that we did it, and I'm glad it came out well. I just wish we were doing even more specifically for this trip, right? Like we still got cord killers and stuff done, and when we shot that ad for last week's Scam School, but like
maybe next time if you get more done, if you take more people with you to Los Angeles.
Do you want to go? That was the one thing is I would have loved if we had an audio person there, because I had my HD202s, the Sennheiser, really nice cheap headphones, and they have a really long cord, but I was like tied to the cord and tied to the bag, and I was trying to move around, so I had dynamic shots, and it was a thing where it's like, oh, God, I wish I didn't have to listen to it. And then very early on, Sam Flips does like it's like a front flip onto his back and kind of smashes onto his mic pack. And so there's some like audio foibles. Like there's some like spiky stuff in the audio. But then it was like when Brian did it, his pack turned off because the batteries became jostled or something.
Right.
So it was the sort of thing. Well, now I definitely need to hear everything and be tied to this bag because otherwise we could lose a lot of like more than just have like crackly audio. We could lose an audio track.
Right.
So that was the shoot. They're back. So speaking of travel, there is a lot. I kind of thought, I don't remember quite where, but I feel like I heard the phrase, I'm free for the rest of the year come up.
I feel like I've heard that.
When in actuality, in the next 3 months or so, we have kind of a lot of things going on. So Brian is out now in Las Vegas for the rest of the week to go see Magic Live, to go be part of Magic Live, which is some magician's convention. He's kind of going to rub elbows and talk to people and see about, see magic people for about stuff.
Which I like. Quick note: was not on the calendar.
No, not on the calendar.
I was very surprised yesterday to find out that. Hey Brian, I need something from you. I'm on a plane in 7 hours. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And they're mostly going because that is immediately before DEF CON, where they're going and getting a booth and selling a lot of merchandise and meeting fans. And Jason's flying out for that. So if you're a Modern Rogue fan, or if you wanted to get some products and technically save on shipping, but really you're also buying a plane ticket, dude. Check that out. That's in Las Vegas. That'll be until the 12th, but this episode almost certainly won't come out before this is over. So that was DEF CON. And then we have Dragon Con coming up, which is always a good time. That's in Atlanta, Georgia on Labor Day weekend. So August 30th through September. Or I guess, is that even Labor Day? That might just be the first week of the month.
I didn't actually realize.
Oh, yeah, the 3rd's Labor Day.
All of those dates.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we were in Dragon Con the beginning, end of August into the beginning of September.
And that's going to be our last Dragon Con for the foreseeable future, at least.
Yeah. This was another thing that they talked about on Night Attack this past week, which was that, this could be the last Dragon Con. They went into it a lot there, but the short story is it is expensive to go to Dragon Con, and we don't sell anything. We don't have any money making operations at Dragon Con, and so it's fun to go, but also it's a lot of work for the 3 of us to fly out and hold a show and be in Atlanta for 3 days, and it's great to see everybody, but between other conventions that we go and do, and the guys now having toured Night Attack at like ticketed events, it's the sort of thing where if we're going to disrupt operations for that many days and there's not sponsored content attached to it to pay for it, it is a tough sell.
At least to break even. You at least want to break even.
Right. And the tough thing is, like, we don't have a lot of merchandise for Night Attack. Like, they used to do shirts. They would go and do runs of shirts, but then they were doing it themselves, so they would have to order stock and have stuff in stock and have sizing and stuff. And so now we've got some on-demand fulfillment options. We still have some Teesprings up, and I still want to replace those Teesprings with another service. But we have like on-demand, but we don't have like products, right? We don't have pins or when we did the California tour, we Justin had some fanny packs printed up and stickers, but we don't have anything like that now for these convention trips, so it's tough to recoup any money on it, basically. So that's Dragon Con. We're gonna try to make it a good one, though. Of course, it would be the Dragon Con where I decided to start spending money on cosplay. So we're gonna have to find other places to go do cosplay stuff at. And then in October 12th to the 14th, we're gonna be at Scoop Fest Vegas. This is Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social podcast. They do a weekly show, and They've got a 3-day convention in Las Vegas where they do their show. We go and do Night Attack. Mikey Newman will be there, Movies with Mikey. I think he's doing a live show, and we might try to steal him for Night Attack.
Cool.
That's a fun time. And then I found out last week the guys are going to TwitchCon at the end of October 26th, excuse me, to the 28th, and they're going to do a panel on. They're going to do. They've said, or they've sold their panel as the story of them leaving Justin.tv for Twit, and then leaving Twit for Twitch, basically. That's the version that I, because they always make it very flowery of like, oh, Justin.tv kicked us off because we weren't doing games and they're becoming Twitch, and so they said hit the road, asshole, and we said yeah.
It's pretty spot on.
It's about it's pretty much the bit. So they'll talk about history of relatively recent live streaming. So we'll see. I don't know. They've said that it might be that, or depending on what the turnout looks like, they might just do Night Attack there. So I don't know, but we'll be at TwitchCon, and that'll be interesting because I have not been to TwitchCon before, and I wasn't expecting to go this year until they told me live on the show. So yeah, and like that's 4 different trips from now through the end of October, and in between then we need to shoot Modern Rogues and Scam Schools and Scam School remixes and all the stuff you guys know and love. But man, it'll be a little busy. It won't be like it was a couple months ago when Brian was like trying to close on the property, but also like being gone for like 5 out of 6 weeks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So some stuff to look out for. Come check us out at those things. So this came up before the show, right before the show started. A lot of what I do is work on Brian's podcasts, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, not Brian's podcasts, because I work on Brian's podcasts. But so I listen to. I have like between 6 and 10 shows that I try to listen to when I can. Do you guys? I don't even know if you guys even listen to podcasts, really. I know Brant listens to some of the Giant Bomb stuff.
Yeah, I used to listen to the Giant Bombcast a lot. I haven't in a bit, but I still listen to the Giant Beastcast, which is Giant Bomb's East Coast stuff. Mm-hmm. I listen to Waypoint's podcast. I listen to Radiolab. Sometimes I listen to Reply All. I listen to 99% Invisible.
Okay.
I listen to a smattering of podcasts. I used to listen to a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
I used to listen to like 10, 15 podcasts pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. But I kind of fluctuate between podcasts and music. Mm-hmm. And I shifted a little bit more music dominant a couple of years ago and have been kind of in that space. So it's just like a select few podcasts that I stay tuned to.
And you're traveling less than you were, you know, even a few years ago.
Yeah, back then it was like an hour commute, so I had a lot of time for that kind of stuff. Yeah. And also I was doing more travel stuff and less video editing stuff. So, yeah.
Jeff, are you a podcast person?
Oh, yeah. Mostly politics.
538
and The Weeds. And I throw the National Review podcast in there just to even things out, which is kind of interesting. But then some other stuff, like I used to listen to Bonfireside Chat, which were the Dark Souls podcast guys. And they have a show called Watch Out for Fireballs that's good, where they do a lot of obscure stuff. They're currently doing a 2-parter on Nier, the original Nier.
Oh, nice.
Which I can't wait to listen to, because they usually just kind of go over the whole game. And then...
Is that like retelling the stories of those games, or
a lot of times they kind of like just go over it in a certain amount of detail.
And Nier's the sort of game where you could get into, like, even if you were just telling the story of Nier, or retelling that story, you could fill a lot of time with.
I would much rather listen to somebody talk about the story of Nier than ever played Nier. And then a certain amount of the audio drama stuff too. Sandra is really good. I do like Reply All as well. I haven't been able to get into many of the other Gimlet things, but so yes is the answer.
I tend to listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, so like Hollywood Handbook or Your Kickstarter Sucks, which is, it's funny. It's not like necessarily comedy. I've tried listening to Come Town. Everyone's like, hey, like Come Town's great. It's not quite on my wavelength. It's a little, I don't know if you know this, a podcast called Come Town is a little risque.
You don't say. There's hardcore history.
I haven't even listened to Hardcore History. I hear it's great, but that feels like a really heavy investment.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like the Beastcast or the Bombcast being like over 2 hours every week is like, and I don't listen to those religiously or like every week or anything. But when I see it, it's like I might listen to that, but that's a lot to listen to.
So you're saying a 4.5 hour part one is not really on your radar?
Really. I'm also like not a history buff. And so like that also would be like that's kind of like the double blow of it.
Sure. I met him once.
Oh, Dan Carlin?
Dan Carlin.
Yeah.
Brian and I met him when we went out to do a show or something, and we ate lunch with him, and I was like, well, you're a guy. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I think he and Brian are on chummy terms. I know when the 2016 election happened and they were doing the live stream here, Dan Carlin called in. And was there as that election unfolded.
Oh, poor Dan Carlin. He has his politics show they just doesn't know what to do with anymore because he's for years just been like, I hope that an outsider wins and like changes politics forever. And then he's like, like that, not like that though.
Yeah, I think in a few years I might be in a headspace to listen back to stuff like that of like I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know. We're still in it. It's still happening. This political scenario is still happening.
Yeah.
So a lot of comedy stuff. There's one podcast that I just found out about called Episode 1, which is every week they take on a new premise and it's like an episode of a different podcast. And so they kind of play characters and that's kind of neat. It's real loose. It's a little loosey goosey, but that's pretty fun. And then there's an audio drama that I have listened that is new. It's only monthly, so they only have like 3 episodes out. But it's called Dark Ages, which is about it's like a workplace comedy set in a D&D museum, like in a museum in a D&D world, like a fantasy world. So you kind of follow the staff as they have wacky adventures go on.
Have you ever listened to Alba Salix?
No.
It's a kind of a similar. It's about a lady wizard healer in a SALIX.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I listened to a few episodes of that.
Okay.
Also, the dollop is amazing. It's history you've never heard of, kind of thing. Anyway,
so I brought all this up to ask: do you guys listen at one-time speed? Do you do the speed up thing? Do you do the like smart silence sort of thing? Because I can't. I have to listen to everything 1.0. I can't.
I am adamant one-time speed for everything.
The sped up is just impossible. I'm already not paying attention.
I just when you put that, I was like, do people do that?
Brian does.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, Brian does it.
Really?
Brian does like 1.5 speed, maybe a little bit higher.
I can't do it because, and there are some people who it's like, okay, I really want to get through this, and like there are some people who listen to so much podcasting regularly who like do it during work or they commute a lot where they want to get through a lot of shows so they can save a considerable amount of time if they go to 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 speed. But it's not for me, man.
And plus, a lot of the stuff that I listen to, like Radiolab, is very meticulously produced. And so to speed through that or to cut through any of that is undercutting the work that they put into that episode.
Yeah.
I could kind of maybe hear it if you're listening to like, oh, these are just two guys talking and they don't really edit their podcast much. Then it's like, okay, yeah, then maybe, truncate the silences and stuff because maybe they just didn't do that and they probably should, but they're not going to.
Yeah.
Then it's like,
okay, don't look at me when I.
Then it's like, I kind of get it, but if it's anything where somebody put any sort of thought into editing that piece of audio, Like I want to hear it the way that they wanted it to be heard.
Yeah.
If they wanted to speed it up, they could put it out sped up 1.5 times.
So like M Riddick in the chat says he started off at 1.5 times and now he's at 2.1 times, which is impossible to me. I like so much, like I only listen at 1.0 and so many times I will get in my own head or whatever and I'll have to stop and rewind it because I stopped paying attention and I wasn't following along. And I guess if you're like really dedicated to listening, or if you got headphones in and you're making a moment out of trying to listen to it, I can see speeding up if you're giving it a lot of focus, but I just can't do that, man.
I think that for me, my problem is I don't have enough podcasts. I listen to them at 1.0 speed and I get through the episodes that I'm looking to get through
Pretty
really
quick,
quickly.
yeah.
So I'm not like, what I need is more podcasts.
Yeah, if I followed like 30 podcasts or something, then sure.
Right.
That I want to hit everything, but I don't know, man.
It's also the kind of thing where it's like if I try to read too fast. Like I can read the words and I can I can do that thing and go like, oh yeah, I see all of these words and I'm reading the words, but I'm not going to retain any of it if I'm going faster than what just my natural reading speed would be.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times podcasts would be the same thing, where if I go through it too fast, it's like, yes, I recognize the things that you're saying, but I'm not actually retaining any of that. So
Well, and I listen to a lot of comedy stuff, and like the timing is really important on a lot of that. Even if there's silence, right? Like I definitely can't do the like Overcast will do smart silence, where it'll find silence and speed up through the silence so that it'll compact it even more without necessarily making them speak faster.
right.
But I can't, like that'll just mess up. Like one thing that really messes up sometimes is music. Like if you have like kind of sparse music, it'll speed through the music in a really weird way.
Right.
I can't do that stuff. Well, cool.
I watch the episodes that I edit at 2x just to make sure that when I put them on YouTube, they aren't messed up.
Yeah, but you're
Just
checking. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
checking them. Yeah.
That's about it.
Very cool. So was this last week? I don't even know when this was. I am like completely out of it. We had a video go up about a new product July 19th. This was how many weeks ago? Oh my God, this was like almost 3 weeks ago. About a new product, the Covert Razor Wire Saw. And you pointed this out, Brent, because I put this up and wasn't able to, or it didn't pop up again because we put it on the Scam Stuff channel, which I don't check as often. But it's at like 137,000 views, which is a lot for a Scam Stuff channel video.
Yeah, it's really popping off. Usually the extended outtakes do pretty well, but a Scam Stuff channel release is usually in the range of like 10,000 views or 20,000 views or something.
Yeah, or even something like this show, which is like 3,000 views, 2,000 views, right? It's a podcast,
Right.
it's long. People don't always want that. But yeah, it's such a weird outlier. Now, granted, it went out to the email list, so
Right.
if they wanted to see it in action, this is where they saw it, and I think it's embedded on the store. So, we had a new product, and people want to see it in action, which this very much is. They would click through it there, but that's interesting. It's a neat video. We don't have David here, but David filmed this just on one of their cell phones, and it's
Very smooth.
Yeah, there's like image stabilization stuff, and I think they have the nice iPhone X, so it's got the optical image stabilization stuff. It came out fine, and like editing it was not as big of a pain as you might think. Like if you're okay with like, okay, we're just gonna do jump cuts where we need to tighten it up. It was actually pretty good for a company where we try to do multi-camera most of the time, right? To have good, clean coverage. But yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting sort of thing. Because it cut down to like 9 minutes or so, and I think it was like 20 minutes of footage as they like took this razor wire saw and tried to cut through various materials. What was the one that really gave them trouble? This padlock. They put a little like stainless steel padlock in here and tried to kind of shave it in. And so Brian, so at some point, like he realizes he's like making an incision, he's making a mark on the steel, but not much. So he tries to like, okay, well, I've weakened it, so I'm just gonna bang it open. I can bang it open. And so when he does, we don't linger too much on it on this video, but the part of the lock that is compromised is the side of the lock he was not sawing, because that's the side that disengages. Like, see, like, look, he's got it in his hands here, but you could definitely see like the other side is the lip that you would lock something into.
Right.
So, but it's not meant to cut through steel, I believe. So I think that's just what it was. But yeah, I don't know. That's weird. And we haven't put a lot of product stuff on the Scam Stuff channel.
Yeah, especially not lately.
Yeah, I have to think that is almost all of the email list. Or the store, store traffic, because it's so far like out of line, or not out of line, but like not what we would normally do. I don't know. Maybe we should do it. If I'm logged in, maybe we can check the traffic, like the traffic sources.
Sure.
Because YouTube is actually like kind of decent at telling you like, okay, here's about where people came and saw your video from. We're doing some real time analytics here.
Loading up analytics. Overview loading.
Graphs.
Old Creator Studio.
Oh,
I don't like the new Creator Studio.
Me neither.
Okay, here we go. Oh wow! So traffic sources. Here we go.
Loading up this pie chart.
Is
what is the blue one?
91% browse features. So that's when YouTube puts it on your front page.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then 3% suggested videos, so that's the sidebar. Other YouTube features that could be that.
So it's only 1.3% from external. Is that what the email?
External and direct were 2.4 together, so those would be email or the store.
Huh.
Oh, you know what? External is embeds.
Okay.
So 1.3 is the store, and then another 1.1 direct, which would be the email or unknown stuff.
So did it just hit some kind of analytic like ramp and then fly off onto the front page of YouTube for a bunch of people?
Yeah, I mean, we have like Scam Stuff has 60,000 subscribers, but even then, it could just be like, oh, it saw the word unboxing or some keyword and put it on the front page for a bunch of people.
There you go.
Yeah, there's no telling. Nobody knows how YouTube works.
No, it's a crapshoot. Yeah. But that's pretty cool. I don't know what new products we have coming up. Oh, we have one product coming up in the store that we'll talk about in a little bit later on in this episode. But I don't know that we have too much else. I mean, I think we might have another. We may try to do another original, but we've got Black Friday will be coming up soon enough. Needing to ramp up for that. So, yeah, very cool. So, Brant.
Yeah.
We just had an interview go up.
We had 2 interviews go up just recently.
Oh, yeah, in the past month. One with...
in the past week.
Were they both in the past week? Yeah.
Yeah, they were like 4 days apart from each other because I had to get the Beerus interview done before the last Macaulay episode went up, because the Beerus episode, we very specifically called out, hey, you can watch this interview if you subscribe to us on Patreon. And then, of course, that episode went up and there was no interview.
Yeah.
So I was like, this has to go out before the next episode. And then I did the Macaulay interview was quite quick, so that went up within the next week. But yeah, we've done some interviews for $10 patrons, which, man, it's such a relief to be out of that murky, weird space of us going, oh yeah, we'll totally do a scavenger hunt / whatever secret mission, like whatever that was supposed to be that never happened. Because guest interviews, we have like a system in place for. We already get together to shoot episodes, so we can just say, hey, stick around for 20 to 30 extra minutes and we'll just chat.
Yeah, we talked about that on this program last year, I guess, because the scavenger hunt stuff was a problem because I think that is the communications problem there was vocabulary, in that scavenger hunt means a very specific thing to almost everybody. But to Brian, that was the word for, we're gonna have people do stuff for us, and we'll make it flowery and just tell them to do stuff for us, basically. And that even what that looked like never really materialized.
Yeah, and I think like some of the early talks about what the secret missions were going to be was like, oh, we'll just tell them to go upvote this thing on Reddit.
Right.
And I was like, well, one, if you were doing that, wouldn't you want as many people to do that as possible?
Right.
And two, why would somebody pay for the privilege to do that?
Yeah. Which I don't even want to unpack the whole Reddit stuff. But yeah, between that and then, Brian and Jason were talking about doing a podcast or some sort of live show or a feature that kind of the scheduling just sort of never worked out, especially when Jason was still doing his full-time job. And it's tough to get the three of us in this room between all of the other shows that we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Though I guess if we're in the studio and are all together a little more regularly, a show like that where just that was it. It was like questions. It was a question and answer session.
Yeah. So there was live Q&A in $10 and then live stream in $5 for episodes.
Yeah. And then, but we only did 2 of the Q&As and we honestly didn't get very many questions because the guys are very accessible and people will just ask them questions if they have questions.
Yeah.
So we kind of kiboshed that. And then the episode recording live streams are now at the $10 tier. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or actually, those were always $10 tier.
Yeah, and the live Q&As were $5.
That's right. But now we also have the live, or not the live, but we now have these interviews to kind of fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
And those are like all set exclusive. Those are not like timed exclusive.
Right.
So that's
I mean,
a building library of exclusive stuff.
Yeah, we might do an unlock at some point where one of the interviews goes out to public in the same way that we unlocked the ghost hunting first pass at it.
Oh, right.
Just so that way people who aren't patrons kind of know what they're in for, like what is at that reward level.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should do live streams at some point soon. It's been a while.
I know. I kept thinking about it, and then I thought for the last shoot, but I didn't want to do it during the Macaulay Caulkin stuff because
sure,
that's already like we're already like having a favor done to film the episodes with them, and then the LA stuff. Well, that was 45 minutes of shooting, but also like three hours of kind of waiting around, and so that wouldn't have been very good. But yes, we'll try to do it on the next shoot.
Cool.
Pick a date. Since we're talking about Patreon, Sandwich Brad is asking about Titan level. So we did have someone on the Patreon pledge at the Titan level. That's the $10,000 level, but I don't know that pledge went through.
No, they were declined. My guess.
Okay.
Total speculation.
Sure.
It's just a kid who wanted to see if they could do it. They were just like, I want to hit this button and see if I get anything out of it. They were not a patron of ours before. They don't publicly pledge to any other Patreons. They left a comment on like a PewDiePie thing or something. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm starting to piece together demographics of this a little bit. And I really wish Brian and Jason would reach out to them to say, hey, if you want to update your card so that this goes through, maybe you should do that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're just going to leech digital tiers until we kick them out.
Yeah. I mean, or maybe we just delete it. Maybe we just do it.
Do you know Patreon changed their reporting recently?
Yeah, so this was like, well, are you talking about the relationships survey thing or the bank survey or the bank controversy last week?
No, I was thinking they changed it so that you used to be able to output a comma separated value like list of all your patrons, and now it's got like 15 more columns on it that are completely garbage. You can get the old one and worthless. Really?
You can get the old one. So when you click patrons, they want to take you to the new
patron manager type thing.
It's
Yeah.
a relationship, I think, is the word that they used for it. And there is a CSV button in there. And because I had this yesterday because I updated the Cord Killers stuff and I use that CSV. But there's like a second sidebar on the left where you'll see patron manager, and you click that, and that's the old patron manager system.
Yeah,
so you
but
can
I
get
feel like
the old style CSV from there.
But when you click download CSV, I feel like it takes you back to that new section. Because I tried to do that. I send out a Patreon email every Monday, and I just don't know what Patreon thinks I need with all of this.
Yeah, I don't
garbage.
I don't really know why they're redoing all of these systems, because I did look at the new CSV that they generate, and it was not very well formatted. A lot of blank cells, and it was very weird. And it's a kind of a mess, but I was able to get the old one, so it might be worth a second look on that. But,
okay.
Yeah. And then Patreon also had the thing last week where they opened up my understanding is that they opened up a new type of bank processing from the United Kingdom. And because when they were trying to do transactions at the end of the month for all the pledges, a lot of them were triggered as fraud or were stopped by the banks because it was like, oh, this is not what this should look like. And I actually don't know if that got resolved. I know they were saying, well, we're going to try to retry pledges and stuff and hopefully flush all of these out. But this is the sort of thing where, oh, why were you even doing that? You shouldn't have done that in the first place.
They have one job. The one job. All of one job to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Why you asked how many pledges didn't go through, because some people would get hit by that more than others. And I don't think it was like a hugely appreciable amount. It was less than $1,000 of pledges for us. But it's the kind of thing where if you noticed that your pledge didn't go through, I would urge you to check on that.
Yeah, check on it. I know Patreon, when everything was happening, was saying, well, you can ask your patrons to change their payment method to PayPal or call their banks, a thing that everybody hates doing. Why would I ever call my bank about that? No, that's stupid. So I don't. So everybody's like, why did they move? So I don't think that they moved to the UK. I think that their headquarters are still in San Francisco. I think they added a processing center, or they added some processing service that is based out of the UK. I don't really know why. I clearly don't even know the whole story, but something happened and it screwed some stuff up. Dylan also mentions that we've had a lot of lenses, the Patreon lenses.
Yeah.
If you use the Patreon mobile app, you get like access to a Snapchat style content feed of stuff, and it disappears after a day. We were the LA stuff. We didn't do as many of those during the LA thing as I think we kind of
expected to.
So much of that was just like downtime, and the stuff that wasn't downtime, we were rushing to get stuff done, either because we only had so much time, or we had other obligations. And you can see lenses on the browser now too. That's right. But we have been doing a lot more lenses in general, whether it's shoot day stuff or whatever. I mean, I think it's cool, and they've kind of expanded it where you can now leave comments on lenses. So Brian always likes when he's shooting a lens, he's like, "Hey, we need to come up with a thing. Tell me what to do the thing, what to name the thing, whatever." And for a long time, that would be it. It would just be like, "Tell me the thing, bye."
And then people would like post kind of confused comments on just the Patreon page,
either
like in the community tab
page, or are they supposed to put his Twitter or to the Discord? And I think his thinking is probably like, whatever, any engagement that they send our way is fine. But like people want direction. People need direction, right? If you tell them, "Tell me the thing," and they can't immediately respond, they don't know what to fucking do.
Right.
Qui-Gon Bauer says, "I always wondered if I was supposed to just go to Twitter." I'm sure he'd love that, because at least that's something where he would get he would personally get an alert,
Mm-hmm.
versus anything else where he would have to check in and see what the responses are. But now you can leave comments directly on lenses, so that's kind of neat. And I think you can like lenses too,
Sure.
possibly.
I believe it.
Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, that's Patreon. So we mentioned that Macaulay Culkin. We kept saying the word Macaulay, and I think most people assumed the second word was Culkin. We shot 2 episodes of The Modern Rogue with him. He came to town, and that was pretty cool. You know, we did some kind of like out there episodes. Like these are if we ever had like a variety genre, like if we ever just had like a variety type episode, like miscellaneous, I kind of think that these would be them.
Sure.
Like very miscellaneous. Like so, the first one that came out was blood spatter analysis, blood stain analysis.
Is that the house? Is that the property where they're shooting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we filmed inside the room with the no ceiling and the no missing drywall stuff.
Okay.
And Jason like put up paper and it set up this fake blood stuff. And also Jacob who did not join us today, played our live dead body.
Sawed it up. Jake sawed it up.
His skin was stained red for quite a long amount of time.
Oh my.
Yeah. But these were cool and very interesting and different sorts of shoot days. You know, the blood stain. Let's start the blood stain, right? Because this was like, we started in the warehouse, which is very conventional for us, right? Just like we're gonna talk about stuff. You're gonna learn stuff, whatever. And Macaulay's a very visual actor. And then we moved on over to the new property, which I think that was my first time inside the property.
Oh, okay.
And so I did not realize that there was a scene there, but it was definitely not in the room that we were filming in. And so it was hot. It was kind of a hot one.
Yeah.
But we had to set up like a very we had to do a little unconventional shooting for this because it was kind of not a full 360 degree space, but it was an environment that they were in. How was that? Because you were kind of like on a little strip here. This is your shot, right?
Right.
Where we had then another master shot out in the door, and then I had another shot over on the right. It was wider than we normally are.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a longer room than we usually shoot in, and angles were more constrained. I also had to do. Trevor was operating the wide camera that was sort of there as a failsafe.
Oh yeah.
And I think at some point he saw that he was in my shot and left.
Yeah.
So that he wouldn't be in the shot, but
it was unmanned.
Yeah. So at some point I'm holding the camera with one hand and like doing like those baseball hand signs to Trevor to like indicate to him what it is he needs to be doing, and that, hey, you take that camera, pan it to Jason. And so it was a bit of a mess, but I think we had just enough coverage to get by fine. And also some of the B-roll that we shot helped cover up a little bit of that.
Oh yeah. You kind of, we shot that ahead of times before we brought the guys in, because they're going to step in stuff, move stuff around, knock stuff over. So yeah, it ended up being pretty cool. It is a nice little skit that they do with Macaulay, 1,000 different names and stuff.
And we bought a fog machine for it.
Oh yeah, and we had a fog machine. So now we have a fog machine.
Yeah. While we were in the warehouse, I was like, man, it would be great if we just had a fog machine in there. And then Brian was like, I'm going to text Bonnie.
I'm going to text Bonnie to get one. And she got one.
Yeah, she went and bought a fog machine.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then the other episode that just came out, what, last Friday?
Yes.
Is on making and popping hydrogen in balloons.
Yeah.
This was one of our messier shoots.
Yeah, this is an episode that we did because we got a very strong indication that Macaulay Culkin wanted to explode something or do something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's not really a strong suit. We've done that a couple of times in the past, but not usually. It's very handholdy and somebody else is driving.
Yeah.
And it's tough to have like strong takeaways from that kind of thing, but we sort of wanted to oblige that desire. So Brian was like, oh, well, I did this thing with King of Random. Maybe we do that.
And on paper, it's a very simple cell, right? Like here's an experiment you can do to generate hydrogen.
Right.
And here hydrogen is flammable. So when you put hydrogen in a balloon, it still floats, but it also, when you ignite it, it goes into a big flame.
Mm-hmm.
Should be very simple. I mean, these are literally, a child's science museum level experiments, right? I've done these in a summer camp. Like this is basic stuff. But doing it ended up being more involved than kind of anybody was expecting.
Yeah, it was the kind of this is the sort of thing that happens when we go, oh, this should work, and then we get the materials and we don't test it beforehand. Mm-hmm. And when we have a special guest in town, maybe that's not the best approach. Maybe we should test it beforehand just to make sure everything's going to go smoothly.
Yeah, maybe not the best look for us when the first episode of the day we have to stop after a day and say, okay, we're going to come back and figure this out overnight and solve it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then come back tomorrow and so only like 75% solved everything.
Yeah. And it was the kind of thing where Jason actually researched a different way to do it than Brian did it with King of Random. Because with King of Random, they used like a solid drain cleaner stuff, which basically has lye in it. And Jason did toilet bowl cleaner, which had hydrochloric acid in it. So very different ways of doing it. And they react differently because of that. Mm-hmm. But they do yield similar results.
Yeah. And so like that's like on the drain cleaner side of it, mm-hmm. being a little wonky. But the other part was also like blowing up the balloons ended up being more involved than we kind of expected. This up to the episode where we're filming stuff is all the first. Well, you have a day transition title card in there, right?
Yes.
But the first day, and a lot of this got cut out of the first pass edit, right? Of kind of them trying to figure out the regulator and stuff.
Yeah.
So we spend the day and they're doing this. And they're trying to screw it in and it won't screw in. And they're like, okay, well, this didn't really have any instructions, so we're gonna try to contact someone who knows more about this. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll have an answer. Someone will know, or we will have found the answer for it. Mm-hmm. So we strike for the day. We put everything up, and Trevor's still there. Trevor is like the last person with us mm-hmm. that day, and he's like, "Oh, I can take a look at that," because he's a bartender. He's worked with taps and kegs and stuff, and he goes, "Oh, okay. Yeah, well, because he works with regulators. Regulators are a part of stuff, I guess." And but he goes, "Oh yeah, my dad told me about it. Yeah, plumbing is always cross-threaded, so you just screw it the opposite direction." Mm-hmm. And so he screws it for a minute, and
there it is.
The regulator is good to go.
All right.
Yeah.
But even then, even given that we successfully screwed a regulator on, we still didn't have any sort of like accessory built for blowing up balloons. We didn't, there's like a specific thing for that.
Yep.
And we did not have that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of like, oh, well, no experts got back to us, so we were kind of on our own. And then also like they didn't 100% understand how the regulator worked.
Right.
And yeah, there was a lot of weird, like kind of just waiting in, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, it was sketchy enough where we didn't want that footage of us not knowing our shit and doing something, potentially dangerous. That's where you get into a line of like, well, are we glamorizing this? Like, there's a kayfabe version of idiocy in science, and then there's like, no, you're actually doing something very stupid and dangerous, and you don't know what you're doing, and someone could get hurt. I think we had parts of that where we
get close to that line on this one.
pretty squarely got into enough on the other side of the line where we cut that footage.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, it was just a big thing of like being in a zone where we were all uncomfortable with how much we knew that we didn't know.
The one thing that we did know was that a tank of hydrogen was very dangerous.
Yeah, and I mean, just putting that on the table is actually super dangerous, because if it falls off the table, the head has a likelihood of breaking off that spout at the top, which turns it into a missile.
Yeah. So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff got cut out, and so that was a thing from that shoot where I was like, oh man.
But pretty much all of that's in the first pass edit.
So, is it? Oh, okay.
So if you want to see us getting real uncomfortable, there's plenty of that.
But yeah, so that was fun, and then we did the interview with Macaulay and Sean. And that was a nice little talk. Like that was nice and brief.
Yeah.
Like, usually they're a little longer, but also it was nice and brief. Oh yeah, so Dylan also mentions the hydrogen balloon gag.
Yeah.
This happened very fast.
It was kind of a work of art.
Being in the presence of it in real time was like, this is like you can even just watch it. This was all silent between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like Jason and Macaulay were on the same wavelength about it immediately. And Brian was gone for like 10 seconds.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the one thing you don't totally get with the version that is in the episode is the masterful clockwork, like spatial awareness, because there are milliseconds with a line of sight in between this working and not working.
Yeah, there's a corner that Brian walks around, and he's around that corner for a couple of seconds, if that.
Yeah.
And silently, they just know, oh, right, we're doing this.
And also, he's within earshot the entire time. And yeah, it's just like you get an idea of how it happens on video, but being there in the space and just seeing it all come together was really a work of art.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
It was very impressive. Jason's a little prankster. It's not it makes sense. He's done plenty of pranks on set.
Camera taser.
Yeah,
where he pretended that he got shocked real bad.
Yeah. Or the dart, shooting the dart, which was
kind of seemed like the whole episode with the chilies was just an excuse for Jason to make people eat or drink things
and then not give them remedies, but make them think that he's going to give them remedies.
Yeah.
Well, what I love. Okay, so my thing when we were shooting this, so it's very much just like, I didn't want to cut into the.
Yeah, come on, let's.
Jesus.
I had to use that as the throat of Hunter Rogue in that episode.
But it's like, that was the plan going into it, was that there would be some things that had been tested and generally accepted as remedies, and things that maybe weren't, or they would be experimenting. And the narrative of like, oh, you betrayed me. It's like, no, you knew you were going to be testing out a bunch of shit that didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Man, but it was a good episode. There are some where I'm just laughing through a lot of the shoot.
What was it? And this was one of them. Salt water on the brain shocker or whatever.
Yeah.
The TDCS.
And he makes Brian almost drinks the salt water.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know why Brian decided to let the snot.
Well,
it was.
He has a history of doing that. When we did the hot pepper pizza thing, he did the exact same thing.
Okay.
Can I just say that?
But also, okay. Sorry.
No, it's all right. No, it's all right. You go.
Here's the thing. If you're gonna do it, do it. But don't also complain about like, oh, you can just blur this out. No, just stop doing it. Just stop. Because at that point, you're just doing it for yourself, and wanting to be this gross guy, or maybe that's the kayfabe of him just being like, no, just blur it out, and don't blur it out, and it's it was gross. But also, I don't know how much of it was kayfabe.
I would say 60% kayfabe.
Because I know the day that episode or the day before that episode was going to come out, Brian was like, so did you blur out the snot? I was like, you should have blown your nose, ass. You made a pile of snot on the ground that, was it Grant or Rubio stepped in?
Brian did.
Oh, Brian stepped in. Ugh.
Because he talked about it being enough that it went over his flip-flop.
Oh, right. He was wearing flops, too.
I'm just glad that, so for 2 years before Grant had his second kid, he was on Rage Select with me, and he wanted to do a thing where we ate hot peppers and tried to see how long we could play games while we were burning up from hot peppers. And I was like, Grant, I hate hot peppers. Like, I just don't like eating them. I don't want to do that. It seems like a kind of a...
Seems like he has maybe a lower tolerance for spicy stuff also.
Yep. I don't know.
You know?
But he really loves it because he pushed for it on the Beerus as well.
Yep.
They did a hot noodle thing.
The hot noodle stuff, right?
Yep.
Man, I don't know. That was an episode. That was a thing where it was not really educational. It was really our most YouTuber-y episode now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a challenge video, basically.
Yeah.
There were sort of takeaways with does this remedy work? But
I guess.
And also, I think there's something to be said about we didn't have enough time to do any research on it, but the building up of a tolerance to the heat
Sure.
Was an interesting find and something that, is a real thing.
Yeah.
I do love that Grant got so carried up in it that he forgot that he brought a pepper costume,
He brought a costume
for the episode.
He brought it specifically for it. And then it's only like halfway through where he's like, oh, I'm going to put the costume on.
Also,
good, though.
if anybody hasn't heard it, there's an episode of the Beerus that they recorded right after this where he explained in quite explicit detail the way that his body rejected that capsaicin after the shoot as we were all leaving, and he ran back into the bathroom and laid on the bathroom floor without clothes on and left a sweat puddle in the shape of his body.
Oh, that poor guy.
There's a link in the description of that episode, and you should all listen to it.
Yeah. Oh, man. I feel so bad for him.
This is why I didn't want him to do it at my house.
Very true. Oh, my gosh. So, shifting gears a little bit to Scam School. So this past week, we had an episode come out, which was from a shoot of ours that we did at the Rusty Mule, which is a bar out here. And I think this is interesting because this is maybe these 3 or so episodes that we shot here are some of the only episodes that we've shot inside. They have an inside bar here at the Rusty Mule, but we mostly shoot outside because a lot of times the indoors was either under construction or he was storing a bunch of stuff in there. But as it's been hot, he's kept the inside bar open because it's hot and it's 100 degrees outside and there's no AC in the little truck that they use for the bar. And one of the episodes, so this episode just came out, which was one of yours, Jeff, about this easy puzzle sort of thing. But this was not the episode that was going to come out, right? You want to tell us a little bit about this?
Well, it's funny because I actually thought about saying this during the LA story because that ties in as well as that Brian asked if I could do the Scam School remix while you guys were in LA to get it away from you. And I said, yes, if you guys will film me an ad while you're in LA, which is where that beach stuff came from. So it's like,
oh, wait, you asked him to do that?
Yes.
Oh, I did not.
Because my whole thing was that I was going to start that Scams Club episode on Sunday. So if you're going to get me to do remix on Sunday, then I'm going to want you to give me back an ad in return, which is usually the hardest part of my whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's like I did Scam School Remix on Sunday and didn't get a chance to start. Monday night I started working on this episode, and that by about, I think it was around 8 a.m. where you know, we decided it just didn't work. It's the thing that I've never happened to me before. Is that the puzzle itself just didn't. It seems like there may be a thing for it, but that you and I were both able to figure out a few ways to kind of game it so that the solution didn't make any sense.
So let's take it back. So the episode, which was going to be this one that kind of didn't really work, was a puzzle where you have two players and they're moving coins across the board, and there's a technique that you use as one player to always win.
Right.
And so you kind of stack the decks to make it look like, oh, they've got the advantage, and they have all this opportunity to win. But I know when we were filming it, David was kind of taking point with the instruction on it. And a fan had sent it in. Yeah. And when we were filming the episode, and we're like, the instructions on it were not super clear on like, do you end at the end of somebody's turn, or do you end the moment that this thing happens?
Right.
And
about halfway through, they changed the rules.
Right.
So the example at the beginning doesn't really line up, but we can
with the instructions later
kind of get around that a little bit. But
then also during the editing process, you sort of realize, well, either way that you do it, it seems like there's a way that you can get out of it, or there's a way that it's not exactly foolproof.
Yeah, basically, if you followed one set of rules, there was totally a way for the player to get out of it and win. And if you followed the other set of rules, there was no need for the complicated explanation on how to win. You could basically just start at one side and then just you move one square and it was fine.
Yeah, and that is always a frustrating thing when it seems like maybe the logic of a puzzle doesn't always work out. Because we filmed it, we knew it was sketchy when we filmed it, because at the end we were like, okay, well, you guys kind of decided the rules halfway through, so let's just film a new start to the episode where you use this set of rules.
Right.
But even then, the example game was not. None of us were paying attention of the example game.
It's like they did the intro, and then when they got to the part to actually do all the moves, it was like, okay, well, that's fine. We already have all the moves. Even though by changing the rules, then the moves from the example don't make any sense anymore.
Right.
So,
and so that episode we will probably figure out. What I don't think that
probably
it's
something that's missing, some rule clarification or something,
or even then it was generally it was still a little unclear. Like I think it was fine. I think we shot it well, but I think the instruction on it was unclear. I mean, if it was such that we couldn't get the rules to figure it out on this end, it's probably worth having them look over everything once more and then reshoot it. Just reshoot it with a different crew or whatever, knowing what it exactly is. How many have we had? Any other episodes that we've scraped like that?
I don't think so. I mean, we've had a couple where it was just too sloppy to put out. And I don't think that was like any kind of rule set thing. I think it was just like the presentation wasn't on point. And I think those episodes we probably reshot at a later time and put out the new ones. There was the beer parody episode, which had a good setup and a good logical set of rules.
But the explanation was bad.
Yeah, but Brian didn't actually understand the explanation. So when he tried to explain it, it just didn't track. So I basically cut the entire second half of the episode and just did voiceover for all of that.
Yeah.
But we had a good enough setup that I could get away with something like that. But I don't think
I've had episodes go out and then I've had to edit them and republish them because either information that I've put in there was wrong and I found out in the comments very quickly after, or for whatever reason we had to publish a correction, but nothing we've ever scrapped, I think.
Yeah, it seems like the thing that is possible that it has happened, but no immediate example is coming to mind.
Yeah,
I feel like we are more often on that edge than over that edge.
Because and a lot of this stuff is like older puzzles or older logic principles, and so they're well established. And if we're doing it, we've taken it from this very old book, and so it's going to be right. It was published at some point,
Right?
Not to say that everything published is true, but the fact that you would find out very quickly if this thing that you saw didn't work. And so we'll probably have that one come out at some point. That probably the next time we go and shoot stuff. But
I think it was just interesting because it was like I did the Scam School remix, and then I spent a day doing that one, and then it ended up not working, and so it was like a quarter of the normal time that I had, which taught me that most of my problems getting Scam Schools on time are shooting ads.
Ads are tough. And that was a thought of what I'm going to do for this week's ad, but it's not going to be pretty.
Also, I kind of want to just put out that whole clip that you guys sent me on the beach, because it's not like 8 takes of the same thing. It's like
it's a lot of different things,
14 different things, and people are walking by, and there's like, look at that drone. The drones are birds or drones. Is there something there? Birds or drones?
maybe I'll do something like that, because it was the sort of thing where that was partially why we went to the beach, was to go and film an ad. And it was very stream of conscious, and we kind of kept shifting ideas and changing thoughts. Maybe I'll see if there's another idea in there that I can scrape, because my idea for this week was like, on my episodes I've been doing this like Brian is a robot or an android prop back. And so my idea was like taking a bit from that bit that we filmed a few weeks ago with him here in the studio, of him like on the table, and he's like out of order, and then the video kind of like cuts away to an emergency protocol, and it just cuts into like plays an old ad like as an emergency. I figured at least that is enough of a framework where I don't feel bad running an old ad.
You should do one of our old Cyborg ads where it was like Neo knew Austin, and it's Brian and Jason, and they're cyborgs.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Okay,
because that might be, if I do that, that would be a good one for it.
Right.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. We've done a lot of like weird tech robot ads.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that. Also, it was the Rusty Mule. Their inside bar is nice. We actually shot. If you watch the Scam School TV pilots that we made, one of the segments in there, the human jack-o'-lantern segment, was shot in there. Though it looks different inside there now, or they moved a lot of the dressing in the signs and stuff, at least.
Okay.
But those were also shot in there. It was an interesting thing because it was nice to have a pretty small, quiet bar. But I think this was something that you noticed too, that like the audio was like, the audio was like a little weird. It wasn't like echoey, but it had way more room noise than you would think for being in a rather quiet space.
Yeah. David always seems like he's a little bit hard on audio just because of the way his voice is, but
yeah, he's quiet and he has a long neck, so he's like physically further away from the mic.
I don't know. I almost feel like it's just the fact that I'm so used to working with
a bed
outdoor with music in the background, and this is indoor with no music.
Yeah, I think like there was some AC hum that I think kind of got in there a little bit.
Yeah,
and I think Roberto was just riding it a little hot that day. Some of that stuff was a little hotter than usual. But yeah, it was the sort of thing where I noticed it was like, and I actually wonder if this is a thing where, because it is so clear in there that you can pick up the other people on each other's mics. And so if someone's not talking, you bump them up because it looks like they might be talking, or it looks like their level is talking. And so you want to get them in a good space, but instead you're actually bumping up someone who's not talking. I bet maybe there's a little bit of that going on there too. Dylan asks how much time is spent on audio after the fact. It's usually like to like a pass and a half for me, where I'll go in and cut up audio based on like who is speaking, and then color code clips of like, okay, so this is the color for someone speaking, this is the color for someone not interjecting, but like giving an affirmation, like yep or and then this is the color for if someone like is laughing and is kind of an explosive moment, and then this is the color for no one is talking, and then I use those colors to set like a baseline max peak for those things. So like speaking, I try to do like max peak at like -4.5, and then someone speaking over is like -6.5, -7, laughing is like -10, and then if no one's talking, I just turn that down like 30 decibels or something. But that's a system that doesn't take too long. It's just a lot of like going in and like classifying different parts of speech, you know?
I spend like 4 hours cleaning up audio on Modern Rogue, and it's like the most tedious, agonizing part of the process.
Do you do a sort of similar thing, whether it's color coded or?
I usually save it for the very end, and what I'll do is I'll do it in like minute chunks or something, where I'll go through and I will use the cut tool and I will cut phrases of spoken word. And you know, you can there's a specific way to do it, because you know, if somebody's like really loud and then kind of quiet and then sort of medium, you don't want to necessarily cut right on those lines, because then the really quiet part is going to be like way too loud if you normalize it. But anyway, I just cut through every spoken phrase basically, and then I normalize them all to -4 decibels, and then I take all of the non-speaking parts, cut them and normalize them to -30 decibels. And then I basically go through and listen through that to adjust it, because sometimes you need to drop it down a little bit to sound a little bit more natural. Sometimes you need to bump it up a little bit to sound a little bit more natural. Sometimes you need to crossfade them a little bit so that way it ramps up or ramps down.
Yeah.
And
then you have music, and Modern Rogue is a long show to do music coverage for.
Yeah, and I mean, music's a whole other thing. Music for me ends up being like a review pass on the episode. Usually I will go, you know, there are a couple specific spots where music is important, like right at the title card, music is important, and right at the end, music's kind of important. And then in the middle, I just kind of feel it out for moments that I used to do music throughout the whole episode, kind of in a Scam School-esque way. And Scam School, that was born out of necessity, because it's like there's a lot of bar noises and a lot of bar music, and you kind of want to cover that up. But for Modern Rogue, that's less necessary, but I do think it can be important for building tone and stuff like that. And so I kind of, at some point, stepped away from doing it all the time and sort of started engineering moments of no music, because it just feels different, and I think that's a really useful tool to have. So I'll kind of once I get all of the audio done, all of the video done, and it's basically a locked edit, I'll go through and do music. I'll pull up my music doc, and I will see what music was last used. So I have all of the music used per episode, and then I have them labeled for the last time that song was used, and I try to look back a few weeks or a few months for music that we haven't used in a while.
You don't reuse stuff too soon.
Yeah, and I try not to use music. Like if I pull a track from 5 episodes ago, I don't want to use too many tracks that were also used in that specific episode. So I try to mix and match a bit. So that way, if you're watching through the back catalog, there's not like a sameness to it. It's at least a little bit different.
Interesting.
And
we used to do that for Scam School, and at some point I just realized, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like not in that, because I think you doing it is a good thing on Modern Rogue, but I think with Scam School we have like the library of track. I mean, we have a library that we license music through, but we have a few albums of stuff that we tend to lean heavily on. I know I have three or four, but it's the sort of thing where I used to give it more thought about whether we've used a song before, but not so much lately.
And I think
I don't know.
sometimes when you use music, especially if you have a more limited selection that you frequently pull from, it ends up becoming kind of like theme music. So it's the kind of thing that you associate with a show. So like
Yeah.
originally, Scam School Remix was going to have different songs at the end.
Oh, really?
But yeah, because it was like
Oh, wow.
it was an offshoot of Scam School, and it was like I was gonna change it up, and then I was like, man, that's just so much work. And then I thought like, well, I really love this track, so why
It's a
don't
good track.
why don't I just make it the thing that when people hear it, they associate it with Scam School Remix, and that's just the Scam School Remix song
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. I kind of see the Scam School music library in a similar way of like, we have about 30 to 40 tracks maybe that if that we use a lot, and they're all good tracks and they all kind of fit. And so as long as they fit the moment, because talking about sort of your way of using music to punctuate moments or to create moments, for me, I use the music in Scam School as like chapters, right? Like for this segment of the show, we're talking about this part of the track. For this segment of the show, we're talking about this other thing that you got to do. And now here's the performance, and so that's the big moment. And each track has their own different sort of atmosphere. So tying that to the right part of each chapter is a natural storytelling process for me, right? Like the song changes, so you kind of know you're in a different headspace. You're doing a different method or a different beat, but it still keeps it lively, right? Every couple of minutes, it's another song. So it's interesting the two sort of different takes on it.
Yeah. So yeah, like Mono Rogue, once it's all locked, I watched through it and I put in the tracks one at a time and then review from that track forward. So that way I can spot check all of the camera stuff and all of the audio stuff mixed with the music. And then, yeah, there are a lot of like moments that kind of feel the need for music. There are some times where it's like, I don't know. There's just, it's just one of those things where like when I see it, I know it, and I haven't quite been able to put it into words. But a lot of times, you watch through it, and if there's no audio, at a certain point, I can start to feel the
silence.
Yeah, the anxiousness of no music. And that's when I go, okay, now it's time to put in a track, and then I try to find a track that fits the kind of energy of the situation, and then I find the right spot for it in that zone, and then I just kind of play it through. And then I EQ all the music, so I bring the highs down.
Yeah, you got to bring the highs down on stuff like that
to give a little bit more room for the vocals. Especially some tracks have like a really like a harsh snare kind of percussion.
I found that when we do the product videos. So for the product videos that we do, like the Nickel Saw episode, we don't have access to the same library as Scam School or Scam School Remix. And so I just pull from Monster Cat because we can pay them $10 a month and it's fine. But it's the sort of thing where those are full EQ songs and they're not exactly made for using them in this way. So I'll find that I have to either EQ down the high end or turn it down further or something. But that's sort of processing you need sometimes with stuff that's not made for a library.
Yeah, and there's one song we used to use a lot, and we kept getting comments about people talking about, why do I hear ping pong balls or whatever, because the percussion sounded kind of like hitting a ping pong ball with a paddle.
Oh, okay. But you had tuned it down, so
that was before I started EQing music.
Oh, I see.
So it was a thing where I was trying to balance it out so that way you could hear talking over it, but that was one of the things that kind of woke me up to, I can still keep using this track, but I need to isolate the frequencies where that's the biggest problem and then cut those down, and it kind of recovers this track from being something that's being too present, and I can kind of pull it back into the shadows and be a little bit more of a bed upon which the vocals are built upon.
Yeah. Very cool. That was those. Oh, and yeah, we had a couple of questions here in the chat about some of the audio. So like Ben asked if we use Isotope RX, which has saved a couple of his projects. I believe RX it's a mastering tool, more for like music mastering. Or no, I'm thinking of Isotope Ozone. I don't know what RX is. I'm gonna Google it very quick.
I feel like I've heard the name Isotope maybe once or twice before, but I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, their Ozone tool is like a mastering plugin. I guess this is just a post production suite of things.
Noise reduction and
Interesting. No, but no, we don't really do too much of this. Like I know on the podcast we'll do some like adaptive noise reduction, just in case we've got any buzzes or any if we're picking up anything over Skype. The other thing was about like going into the spectrogram to remove background noise or clicks and stuff. Normally we can just cut around that stuff.
Yeah.
We get pretty clean signal feeds most of the time.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's usually a super big problem. Sometimes background noise is a little bit of a problem. Like we had birds in the warehouse for a while.
Yes.
So it's like if I bump up the volume on somebody talking quietly too much, you can
hear
just
the birds.
Hear the birds quite a bit. Yeah. But I mean, Brian and Jason are usually loud enough that it's not a problem.
Yeah. But it's a thing like it's such that we are able to get clean enough feeds where we don't need to clean up bad audio.
Yeah,
because we get pretty good audio.
And actually, a lot of it goes away when I mentioned when people aren't talking, I bring it down to negative 30 decibels. That cuts out a ton of stuff because I mean the lavs pick up the vocals pretty good. And I feel like the background noise stuff is really only a problem once you start to stack the audio channels.
Yeah.
So it's like the more guests you have, the more background noise you have. But
especially on Scam School, where we'll usually have 3 or 4 or 5 guests, and it's a lot of audio channel. And if you have someone who doesn't speak very much at all in an episode, that's still an audio channel that's
pumping in room tone and yeah.
So we clean it up pretty well. I think people are usually surprised that we can clean that stuff up pretty nicely with just basic cutting and mixing.
Yeah, I do pretty much all of my audio stuff in Premiere, but every once in a while I'll send some of our audio tracks over to Charles, who lives in the area, and he'll do like some compressing stuff. But we've only done that a couple times. There's not like a formal process or anything.
With how long Modern Rogue is, I'm surprised you haven't, or I have you thought of looking into using compression more to automate some more of this audio stuff? Like if it was the sort of thing where you just cut out empty spaces and didn't worry as much about leveling manually, would you leave some of that up to compression, to a good compression settings that you set?
I mean, I've thought about it and I've experimented with it a little bit, but it's the kind of thing where it's so tough with like, when the two audio sources are so close together, it's tough to find like the right balance where it's actually going to compress and gate just one audio source. Yeah. Right. They're close enough and there's enough bleed that it's like, okay, if I set everything to max out at negative 4 decibels or whatever and pull most things up, it's going to pull up. If I'm doing that to Brian's track, then it's going to pull up Jason as well. And so, yeah, that would cut it down to me just pulling everything back down where it needs to be down. Yeah,
because if you went through and killed the parts of the track that were quiet, that would at least that would take some of the work off. Could take some of the work off.
It could, but there's also that could also risk me having to spend more time distinguishing which parts belong in which tracks. Where it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, either way, I would still have to scrub through the whole thing and polish it up. And Modern Rogue episodes are very long. It's kind of a thing. And like the longer the episodes are, the worse that process is. The more guests there are, the worse that process is.
Yeah.
Especially if there's cross talking. Like it's super easy if it's just one person talks for a while and then another person talks for a while, and if it kind of goes back and forth like that,
Sure.
it's just like, oh yeah, I can. I edit by the waveform more than anything. Just looking at it, so it's like, oh yeah, cut here, and raise them all up, and I'm done. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
And I only bring it up because that's kind of what I've been using with these product videos, which are, granted, less channels and shorter, and they're a little more focused in terms of shooting stuff, but as a means to like just have a nice and quick and dirty compressor and still killing the channels during when the person's not speaking. That tends to those are not very precious videos, so that's the sort of thing where it gets about 90% of the way there. So I don't know, it's something I wasn't sure if you had considered too much.
Yeah, and I think it's something like recently we shot a shoot day video, which is going to go to patrons the next day or two, and then it'll go public in like a week or something. And that's the sort of thing where it's like a very important meeting or whatever, where I've just got a camera and we just use audio from the camera or whatever. And I could totally see using compression on something like that as a little bit more of a viable thing, because you're kind of just trying to hear everything with a microphone like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really weird particular thing. And also, whenever I've tried to do the compression stuff, it's like Brian and Jason have so much range in their vocals sometimes that it's so tough to find anything that's useful across the whole continuum of the track.
Yeah, I do think that's true. And Dylan in the chat also, brings that up. Compressors help when someone is consistent. But I've still found that it still manages to get most of the way there. But different strokes, different experiences. Okay, well, one last topic, and then we'll go because we are going a little long. I don't know if you noticed. So this week's episode that's coming out, which will probably be out by the time this episode is out, coming out on the 8th, is an episode with our friend Alex Rangel, who's been on Scam School a lot lately. You've probably noticed. We in between two shoots, we shot 6 episodes with him, with stuff that he brought us, 5 or 6 episodes, I think. And we have a product coming out alongside the product that he shows in the episode is coming out, with a little bit of a video component to it. But that was the shooting of that episode was also very all over the place.
Well, how much of, without giving away the episode, right? There was the first part.
Right. Okay. So I will talk I'll talk slightly around it because we are recording this live the day before it even comes out, and it's certainly not done. So we're gonna try to have all of it in there. It's gonna be a long episode. It's gonna be 16, 17 minutes, I think.
Wow.
Because
it's almost modern roguelike.
It's almost where Danny comes and does, or not Danny, excuse me, Alex does the trick, but also something else happens, and so we also have to break this other thing that happens down. And
so you're just gonna go chronological?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Where the only thing I'm not sure of is how much I'm going to compress him restarting and doing it a second time, doing it a different way, not different way, but another way. But even still, it will be pretty long. But shooting that was really tough because when you see, as you see in the episode, it requires it requires a specific sort of layout, a specific landscape, right? You have to try to keep certain lines of sight open, and
oh yes,
that made shooting really tough because normally when we are sitting at a table, people are not moving around too much, right? They're facing each other. At least we know you're going to be about here. But with this one, we like started filming it at a stand-up bar table, and then like transitioned into shooting in front of this bar. We moved the bar table back and we're filming in front of it. And anytime we have people kind of standing freely, especially in a case like this where something very uncommon happens, people react, they move wildly, and it was a tough thing to shoot. It's on everybody's side. And so yeah, I don't know. I hope it comes out well. I've done an A cut of it, of just like content and speaking and stuff, but I haven't really done too much with camera angles. We did get a lot of B-roll coverage, so that should help out with a lot of it. But
I feel like that one was a lot of people turning their back to the master camera.
Yeah, it was mostly like a lot of it was Alex being like perpendicular to the camera, which is still just as unflattering.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a little backs to the camera, and I don't know. It was kind of an uncommon trick for us to do. We don't normally do those sorts of reveals, but I think it will come out good. I think it will come out as an informative episode, because you kind of get a lot, right? You kind of have a wacky element to it. You have a statistically unlikely element. And then you also have like a good card element. You learn a card force and an interesting way to create that force. So, yeah, I don't know. It will be a thing. I'm going to be very busy tomorrow. Apparently there's a Modern Rogue fan in town, and I think they're having dinner tomorrow or something, and
Right.
I know I'm not going to be able to make it. But yeah.
Apparently, what Jason was at RTX this weekend and had a bunch of people that recognized him, which I thought was interesting.
And I think that's part of his plan in Las Vegas at DEF CON is Modern Rogue people, because I think Brian has been recognized there before. So having Jason out there kind of complete pack.
Yeah.
Complete set. But yeah, this will be a good episode. I think it could be. I was talking with Brian about it, because Brian likes the episodes to be nice and short, and I like the episodes to be nice and short too.
Sure.
But he was like, yeah, it's probably time for an important episode of Scam School, and I mean,
a very special episode of Scam School.
But I think it is kind of. It could be an important episode in that it has all of these different elements into it. It'll be a long episode, but you get a lot out of it.
Sure.
And also it's partially promoting this product that we're selling. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I want to do it. I want to do it right. I also don't want to tear my hair out doing it.
Sure.
So, any other last topics, guys? Anything you guys have been up to?
I removed on my camera. There are these little dangly bits on the side.
Sure, for a strap.
Yeah, fucking pliers ripped them off.
Really?
Because I was watching that shoot day video that I recorded, and it's on my camera, and I was hand holding it. But when you use the onboard mic, those little clattering constantly. It was driving me crazy.
I thought you had a strap. I
have a strap, but it's the kind that screws into the.
Oh right, it screws into the bottom.
The bottom, yeah.
Oh yeah, well then get rid of those things.
Yeah, it's astounding that I haven't done it before. At first I was like, oh, how do I like tape these down? Do I like tie them up to something? I'll just rip them off.
They got to be cheap to replace. They're just little metal.
Yeah,
little bits of metal. Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, and Moves shut down, which was an app that I've talked about on this program before.
What is Moves? I don't remember that.
It originally it was billed as like a fitness app, so it would be a pedometer or whatever. And it also used GPS to track where you've been. So I used it for tax reasons, because I can write off a lot of my miles when I drive for work purposes.
Sure.
So I can go, okay, well, where was I on this specific day? And I'll go back and I'll see that, at this point in time, I drove for this many miles to this place, was there for this long, drove to this place. It was super easy for just like keeping track of where I physically was.
Yeah.
But then Facebook bought them out a couple years ago and then like stopped supporting it.
Shut it down.
Yeah. And then so just this past month, they were like, okay, this is no longer going to work.
Oh, man. And so it's not even something that can work even if their service shut down? Like it's tied into their service?
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
But I found out I was real stressed about like, oh, how do I do this? Because they're like GPS things for like fitness people, but they're usually like watches and stuff. And I'm like, I don't
want to wear a watch.
And also, it's probably not going to have like a comprehensive timeline of things.
Sure.
So, and then I realized like this morning that, oh yeah, of course, Google just does that in Google Maps.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you just open it up and you're like, there's a timeline button, and it's just like,
and it shows you very scarily everywhere you've been.
Yeah, it's just like at this point in time, and it's actually a little bit more comprehensive than Moves was in that you can, if you stopped at a place for like 2 minutes or something and then you kept going, usually it shows as like one round trip, and it does that in Google Maps and it does that in Moves. But in Google Maps you can say, no, I stopped here, I want to add a place that I stopped at briefly.
Interesting.
And then you can do that so that way it shows up in your timeline. So crisis averted.
Cool.
I guess.
I feel like I probably brought this up the last time we talked about Moves, because now I remember, but like, have you looked at something else like Mile IQ or something that is like designed for like tracking business, like, you know, business travel and personal travel?
But those are also, aren't those like manual entry kind of things?
Not this one.
No?
Yeah, this one's like, okay, you just did a trip. Was it business or not? So I'm sure some of them are, or maybe it's like the free version is manual.
Can you turn this off?
What?
I don't want this. I don't want this to be a thing.
I think there's a way to do that.
Yeah, I think if you go to like
leaving my phone at home.
Yeah, there's like a security
you,
privacy
phone.
stuff.
No, I love it.
That stuff is very creepy to me. It tracking like your voice searches, or not like, I know that they do it, right? Like I know that they use searches and voice search and location stuff to work on traffic data and making search results better. But also, you don't need to tell me and show me all of that. You don't need to tell me that you definitely know everything that I've got.
Delete.
That's good.
Or also like seeing like, what was it, Facebook? I think there was some way to like see the estimated data that they have on you about like, here are all of your preferences to all of these things. Here's your political stance. Here's like,
it's a lot.
It's wild, but
there was a thing.
I still kind of love it.
Too many things.
There was a thing in the past week that was like, Facebook is asking your bank for all of your data and wants to tie your banking data to your Facebook profile.
I won't put it's been asking for my phone number for 5 years. I'm like, you don't need to know my phone number.
It's
Good Lord.
It's gross. I think I've said this before. I think a day of reckoning will come for these social media sites.
I think I'm just about ready to go back to flip phone, Kindle and flip phone. I don't need to look at the internet on my phone anymore. Yeah,
well, I was gonna say the opposite, but I realized that doesn't help the conversation. I was like, I would be happy with the device that doesn't have a phone on it, just because the phone.
Yeah, and Brian just recently was like, "I'm done answering my phone," and I was just like, "Yo, welcome to my world for the last like 8 years."
Right. Well, and also he hasn't stopped.
Yeah,
he still picks up the phone.
True.
Because I know he had this whole thing of like, you know, I'm going to make this long, stupid messaging voice message, and it's going to tell you after like 2 minutes of listening to it that you need to say blue or something when you start your message. Okay. I mean, I guess, or just like not pick up and don't listen to the voicemails or whatever.
I've been really... I have to give a lot of credit to because since I have a company, I have a DBA, and since I have a DBA, my phone number is public in business records, so I get all kinds of like weird calls.
Yeah.
Recently, I've started getting one from this number that's like, you have like 4 arrest warrants, and if you don't call us back, then like the local police are going to come and arrest you.
I've gotten that with.
I was like, good job. No, that one scared me for like 10 seconds. So I was like, why would they leave a robocall voicemail on?
I get one that's like clearly a robocall, but it's like, you have 4 citations with the IRS. Call us, or and then you won't have to go to jail. It's like not even convincing.
The thing is, the first one that I got was great up until the point where they said, please get back in touch, or else the cops will be at your. And it was like, the cops.
The cops.
My favorite is when it's like clearly an automated message, but it starts like the message starts 2/3 of the way through their automated message.
Right.
And so it's like the last 3 digits of a phone number and then saying that I need to do something.
Or like the answering machine message will trigger like the normal conversation. So I'll see like healthcare, plan. Press 1 to be taken off our to put on our do not call list. But that will be like in the voicemail transcript. It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Phones are awful.
Yeah.
Phones are bad.
Yeah.
I only answer the phone for my parents, basically.
I got that Mr. Number app, and that does a pretty good job of just saying like, okay, this is probably
garbage.
a scam. This is like clearly someone trying to imitate your phone number. It's actually pretty good about that, because then when I do see an actual phone number, I'm like, oh, I should actually probably pick this up because it's probably something fine.
Yeah.
I use Haya,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And it does the same thing.
And I think Android has something similar built in, or they have some sort of caller ID thing built in. But with the spoofing stuff, it's it's an unsolvable problem for the masses. Yeah. All right. Well, what's not an unsolvable problem is listening to this show. In fact, you just solved it. You just listened to it.
Probably at 2 times speed.
Probably at 2 times speed. This was only 1 hour of your life. You can find out more about the Bizarre Briefing at bizarrebriefing.com. Get our YouTube links. You can also see us on YouTube, youtube.com/scamstuff. Oh, plugs. Forgot about plugs. Jeff, anything you want to plug?
Rage Select.
RageSelect.com, Rage Select on YouTube.
Just put those letters in a place. Yeah.
Great.
It's fine.
Brant?
Twitter.com/Gadwag, YouTube.com/Gadwag, what's Instagram.com/Gadwag, Instagram.com/Monorail Twitter.com/Monorail Show, Twitch.tv/Gadwag.
Okay, great. And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at BradCasBRYCS. And I usually do a lot of streaming over at twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is where we stream the show live. And then when it's done, we put the video on youtube.com/scamstuff, or just go to bizarrebriefing.com, find the old episodes, find the show notes, get the RSS feed, subscribe, put it in your podcast feed. Gentlemen, we did it.
Yeah.
It only took 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. I'm very sorry.
This is why David didn't show up. He was like, I don't want
to do anything with this. That's why Jacob did not call in. Yeah. But until next.
This is why Brian's gone.
Brian, everyone left. Brian's not even on this show.
Yeah. He's just like, I just can't stand it.
I can't be around it. Until next month, we will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.